so it goes, and so it goes, and so it goes.
What should we call this radio station from Rebecca? And she came up with, what about Radio or No?
Radio or No?
Radio or No. Welcome to Radio or No. Well, what do you think?
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Hello, Wisconsin. Welcome to the noon hour of As Goes Wisconsin. And we are very excited. Well, I'm very excited because he's been on the show before, but I wasn't actually here when he was on. But
yeah, you had to leave.
Kevin Goyke, welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin.
Thank you for having me back.
And so, actually, I think the last time I saw you was at Bird on a Wire for Luann Bird's fundraiser, which was wonderful back in October. And I think you said, you're like, when am I getting back on the show? So sorry it took so long.
That's okay. I'm available. That was the coolest political event I've ever been to, though. That remains that was a special night. Cool to be a part of.
It was. Yes, I totally agree. The music was so good. It was very Milwaukee. It was very uplifting. She is just a special human in general. And yeah, I was really happy that I got to be there for that. But and you were also on Earl's show today, so it's a big Civic Media Day for you.
Yeah, I should have just moved in and hung out at the studio all day. I've been a little bit more efficient.
Welcome anytime.
We have free snacks. You could have eaten breakfast for free. But all right. Well, so I gotta say, it was funny because we were talking about a potential bipartisan bill about nurses at the top of the show today, and you're like, whenever there's bipartisanship, we're like, yay, bipartisanship, because often there's not, and no one probably knows that better than you, who's been in the assembly for 12 years, going on 12 years.
Yeah, 11, going on 12. Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm surprised that you have as much hair as you have, and that
gray
it's not
now.
grayer. It isn't gray.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Because you, being on the Joint Finance Committee, are at a lot of the center of a lot of the fights that are happening. And in fact, I actually made a video about one of your righteous, totally justified, but righteous anger moments last week when your mic got cut off, talking about not even passing paid leave and putting it in the budget, just studying it, just studying paid leave. And you brought up, what did you bring up? And then we're going to play the clip.
Yeah, well, I hit a sore spot because the Republican governor in the fall, Tim Michels, the candidate for governor, embraces this policy. The Republicans have spent 50 years trying to end Roe versus Wade, and then they did. And now they have no idea what to do. They are absolutely lost about what comes next. And so some Republicans like Tim Michels have embraced paid family medical leave when somebody has a child. And so I just reminded them of their candidate's position in the fall. And that must have made Senator Howard Markline really mad. And so he shut me up by muting my microphone, which has never happened to me before.
But then he turned it back on, and you had one of the best mic drop moments. I don't know, did you practice that speech, or did that just come to you?
That was no idea that the day was going to unfold like that. So that was completely winging it.
All right, let's take a listen.
Okay.
Record to show that the Republican nominee for governor this past fall supported publicly paid family leave.
Representative McGuire.
It's not an encouragement to not work. You don't get it if you don't work. You don't get paid time off if you're unemployed. Time off from what?
Representative.
I'm responding to my colleague. And Mr. Chair, you have cut me up. You can turn off my microphone all you want. You can silence the debate and have procedural motions. You guys have buried your head in the sand on this issue. You lost in November. You got trounced in April. The more you silence us, the more you turn off my microphone, the more elections you're going to lose.
Boom!
Cut me down and I will return 5 times what I was before. This is from Star Wars or something, right? That's Obi-Wan.
Did it feel good to get that off your chest?
Well, yeah, it always feels good to get something like that off your chest. But I guess it's appropriate to thank Senator Howard Markline for what he did, because in response, more people are learning about the actual policy.
Yep.
I mean, remember, a speech feels good, but we lost, right?
Yeah.
The more important thing is making progress towards enacting public policy that will help hundreds of thousands of families in Wisconsin. So I am grateful that he got very upset and turned off my microphone and got me really upset so that I could yell a lot so that we could have this conversation about how creating what is in essence an insurance program.
Yep.
It's much like unemployment compensation or Social Security, where workers can earn and set aside their a portion of their wages, and employers pay a small amount as well, so that when people grow their family or get sick or care for a loved one, they can do so with paid time off. It's a hugely important policy.
I totally agree. And you're right. I mean, and sometimes that is the march towards actually getting something done is just the continued awareness over it, and a viral video helps.
That's exactly right. And the more that gets spread, and the more, it really isn't about yelling or having a mic muted. It's about the Republicans' unwillingness to actually have a policy debate about what they have fought and got a policy where women have to give birth if they're pregnant. So what's our responsibility after that? What do we do now in a post-Dobbs world? And some Republicans support this policy, and as a Democrat, I do too. So let's go. Let's get it done.
I totally agree. Well, one of the things we've talked a lot about this show, also having to do with having children, which is not dead yet, unless you have an update for us, is the Child Care Counts program, and potentially having some funding in the state budget to ensure that we just stay at the status quo, let alone help where we're at with childcare. And as I've talked about on this show many times, this is an issue that I is going to become very immediate and personal for me very soon. And I still need to get on some wait lists. But where are we as far as any updates that you can say as far as how are Republicans at least understanding the childcare situation?
Somewhat, Thursday.
Okay.
So that the clip you played was from Tuesday of last week. Then Thursday we had a debate really around childcare, and there was some commentary that was at least signaled that some Republicans understand that there needs to be a state involvement and subsidy to keep childcare centers open. There were also some words exchanged that gives me an indication that they're not going to meet the mark set by the governor. The governor has, in his proposed budget, allocated $340 million. And so I think you're starting to see Republicans are going to do something. That something probably will not meet the need, and it probably will not, fall short of the governor's mark. But, I guess a step forward is positive. And just as an additional indicator, when the budget debate began, the Republicans on Joint Finance removed over 500 items that can't come back up again. One of those was paid leave, which is why Senator Markline turned off my microphone. But interestingly, child care counts was not on that list. It was not removed in that initial wave, and so that means it may indicate action on it at a later date.
We're talking to State Representative Evan Goyke of the Milwaukee area about kind of just state budget stuff in general and the sausage making process that he is privy to. So I guess because we've talked about that a fair amount as far as the 500 different issues that will not be included in the budget. Besides that, childcare is still alive, depending on how much will actually be allocated towards it. What other issues are still alive that you think there's some bipartisan agreement on?
Well, I think we have to increase funding for our public schools. The last budget gave a $0 increase in spendable money, and I think there's a recognition across the aisle that has to happen. This coming Thursday, part of our agenda is on the Public Service Commission, which administers broadband expansion grants. So I think, historically there's been some bipartisanship there. As also Thursday is debates about our building, what's called the capital budget, the state building plan. And that largely centers around our University of Wisconsin campuses. And the governor's suggested we put a lot of this one-time surplus cash into building these buildings, essentially buying a house but not having a mortgage. And the Republicans have indicated some support to that. And I'm hopeful that they'll follow the governor's lead, put a large amount of one-time cash into these building projects, and we'll have a more robust building budget than we've had in the last couple of budgets.
And then the final question, we only have like two or three minutes before the commercial. So, but where are we? Any updates on shared revenue? I know as of last week, it was then Robin Voss saying we are done negotiating this bill. Devin LeMahieu saying maybe not.
Not so fast.
And you're obviously not in the Senate, but any updates as far as continued negotiations there?
Yeah, I from everything that I've heard last week in the halls of the Capitol, I'm no longer kind of at the table because, as you mentioned, I'm in the Assembly and the bills in the Senate. But yeah, my understanding is that conversations are continuing to happen. I think the earliest the Senate is in to vote would be June 7. And so what we'll have to really watch this week is, does the committee take a vote on the bill? And does that next process take place? They had a hearing last week. They have to actually vote on it. That's often where bills are amended. And so I think you can expect Senate action in the next week to 10 days. But from everything that I have heard and been party to, progress continues on the bill.
And as a Milwaukee representative, for where the bill's at right now, what's been negotiated so far, what still is up in the air, what's kind of the best case scenario for Milwaukee coming out of this bill?
My best case scenario is that the majority party in the legislature backs away from some of the unique treatments of how we self-govern, things that we can and cannot spend our money on under the bill: diversity, equity, inclusion, changes to the Police and Fire Commission, the streetcar, public schools. There are additional strings attached in the bill that are unique to Milwaukee that are not put on any other unit of government. So the more the deal for Milwaukee resembles how every other unit of government in Wisconsin is treated under the bill, the better for me. So just reducing the amount of kind of the strings or the micromanaging or the changes on how we self-govern, the better.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but Representative Evan Goyke will still be here when we come back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. I said, come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Right now. Right now.
Is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Bat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBat.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
We're all familiar with the 3 whats. What is it? What can it do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your Country Financial representative, at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
Thank you for listening to your local civic media radio station on air. Now join us anytime by finding and following our Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram pages. You'll also find social media links for your favorite shows and hosts on our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of 87. Southeasterly winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Lows dip down to about 61 tonight. Partly cloudy skies. A mix of clouds and sun again tomorrow. Chance for scattered thunderstorms, 89. Upper 80s Thursday and Friday with thunderstorms both days. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height.
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jade Matnair. What was the
It's from Star Wars.
I know it's from Star Wars.
Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting with Darth Vader.
Who's Darth Vader in this and who's Obi-Wan?
Yeah, this is important distinction here. I'm a little nervous.
Our representative is Obi-Wan.
Of course, our representative Evan Goyke
Please.
and our guest, our esteemed
I'm
guest.
done. I'm done. Can I be done now? This is it. I have reached the pinnacle of my political career.
I do
I'm
love
done. I'm done.
because there's a certain Wisconsin Supreme Court justice who also likes to use Star Wars imagery and metaphors, but on the flip side, that I think the side that the three of us find ourselves on, and so it really can be used of who you have to specify. You have to specify who is Darth Vader, because depending on who's setting up the metaphor, it could be different. All right, like I said,
thank you, Jane.
Our guest for this half hour is Representative Evan Goyke, and we're talking about budget stuff, shared revenue stuff, which is shared revenue is non-budgetary because it was taken out and it is a separate bill, even though it has a lot to do with everyone's budget and every municipality's budget, but it is outside of the budget, right, Goyke?
Yeah, it is, and it will. The bill also directs. We still have to do a bunch of things on joint finance through the budget in order to make the things in the budget happen. So it is outside, but only on paper. It really
Only
is
on
a
paper.
budget document.
So then, but also remind me. So one of the other items that was in Governor Evers' proposed budget, but I think is also now a separate bill, is American Family Field, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the governor had recommended taking just under $300 million and basically investing it, setting it in a trust to grow over the next couple of years, so that when the stadium needs maintenance or new dollars for projects, they could pull from that trust. The Republicans took that out. They do not have a plan really yet to show the world, but they think that it should be a blend of the state, the locals, and potentially the team paying for the stadium. So that is a really big question mark. Ball is definitely in the Republicans' court right now on what the next steps are for the future of that deal, the future of the Brewers and AmFam Field. And there's been a lot publicly out this last week from Major League Baseball and from the Brewers about just what the stakes are, and we will see. Negotiations are taking place. What the details are, I don't think anyone knows, because the Republicans haven't put them on paper. They haven't introduced it as a budget motion or a bill yet. So more to come on that. That is a big item that's kind of left out there hanging without resolution.
And what do you think? Like, what do you think would be the best deal as far as striking the difference between taxpayers paying more money or keeping the Brewers, or kind of like what are the different trade-offs that you're looking at?
I think losing the Brewers is a big loss for the state of Wisconsin and for Milwaukee. It would be a shame to see them go. There's really good math behind the governor's proposal, and I know. Look, if you put the money in a bank account now and it can grow over time, we basically get $440 million worth of future repairs for $290 million today. And if we pay for it on an ongoing basis, the costs will escalate. We know that fixing the roof 10 years from now will cost different than it would cost today. And I'm concerned that we are going to end up paying more for the same amount of repairs and maintenance and improvements than if we just put the money away. We still have $6.9 billion surplus. So let's just use some of it. It's not a small amount of money, but I do support the governor's position in large part because it's the cheapest way to ensure the team is here for the next 20 minutes or 20 years, and that the
or maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, or maybe 20 minutes. Let's hope not. The next 20 years or more. And frankly, it just takes all the question mark out of it, right? It just let's wrap it up and get them to yes and put the whole thing in a posture moving forward that's resolved.
And that's actually interesting. You're the first one who's said it in that plain language, as far as like, oh, let's take advantage of compound interest and the high interest rates we have right now because the Fed keeps trying to slow down inflation and actually be able to use this money in perpetuity, not in perpetuity, but for a while. And I don't know if that part of his deal is advertised as much as far as why that kind of is smart math.
It's the nerdiest, wonkiest part of the deal, but just think about it. Put the money. We have a lot of cash now. This could be a one-time expenditure. Put it in the bank, lock it up. By the time the Brewers start drawing down $290 million is a lot more than I have in any kind of bank account. So, so I don't have the interest. Like, I can't.
You've been in the legislature for 11 years. You're not a millionaire yet?
I'm not a millionaire yet. No. I am. It's pretty rough here in the assembly. But no, it is the smartest financial way to solve the problem in my estimation, because it actually it takes advantage of the power of compound interest.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to have you back as these negotiations progress and develop. But then also, because we didn't even get to touch on the fact that you're going to be running for a different office next year. And so we'll have to have you back to talk about city attorney. We'll have you back in a shorter period of time than the last time I saw you, I promise.
Okay, let's not wait 6 months. I would love to come back. I'm a candidate for city attorney in April of 2024 in the city of Milwaukee. So would love to come back and talk about that important election.
That very important election, because that's that office right now. All right, different topic, different day. Representative Evan Goyke, thank you for coming on and spending time with us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you both.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, would you get a brain chip? I don't know. Depends on what it would do, but I'm leaning towards yes. We'll ask that question when we come back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
They wouldn't have you in the Bye-bye, yeah. Why can't we be friends? 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 I want to be your friend. Why can't we be friends? I want to be your friend. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
If you're hanging out in Waukesha, it's 101.1 FM. In southeastern Wisconsin, it's 540 AM. And all around the world on the Civic Media app. The Shaw, WAUK.
CBS News brief today. A House committee will consider the deal to raise the nation's debt ceiling. CBS's Jared Hill.
Progressives and some hardline Republicans are both critical. Members of the Conservative Freedom Caucus wanted deeper spending cuts and are threatening to vote no.
We just heard from the mayor of Davenport, Iowa, Mike Mattson, after the partial collapse of a 6-story apartment building over the weekend.
We understand that this is an unthinkable situation, especially for the families that are involved and impacted by this event.
5 people unaccounted for, he says. 2 may still be inside the building. 9 people hurt, including 4 children, one of them a year old, in a shooting yesterday on a boardwalk in Hollywood, Florida.
I saw a young man was on the ground bleeding, and they were applying pressure to try to prevent the bleeding.
At least 1 person under arrest, according to police. Other suspects sought. CBS News Brief. I'm Steve Kathan.
The Civic Media Network of radio stations across Wisconsin. We are your hometown radio, refreshed.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane McNair. Here's what you need to know. Wisconsin's DNR is warning that over the next 2 months, we could see the worst spongy moth caterpillar outbreak in a decade. The invasive insect, formerly called the gypsy moth, primarily feeds on oak, birch, crabapple, aspen, and willow trees, but the moths will attack other trees and shrub species as well. Free courses of Pfizer's Paxlovid treatment for COVID-19 will still be offered for at least another few months, even after the Food and Drug Administration granted Pfizer full approval last week to market the medication. The U.S. government has stockpiled millions of doses of Paxlovid. Over 14,000 new COVID-19 cases were reported each week last month, although most cases in the U.S. are no longer reported to health authorities. I'm Jane Natnair. This is Civic Media News.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love party packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Hey everybody, how we doing? I'm Charlie Barons, inviting you to join me Saturdays and or Sundays at noon. It's a horse apiece, whatever you decide. We're doing the Cripes Cast, where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest, and it's more fun than a 6-pack of Jolly Good. Okay, the pride of Random Lake, that Jolly Good is. Anyway, it's on your Civic Media station and the Civic Media app. And do me a favor, tell your folks I says hi. Okay, real good.
Direct from the Dairy State, it's Sharp Cheddar Weekends, a 3-hour block of Wisconsin-produced radio, Saturdays and Sundays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m., featuring Raised in Wisco with Joe Clayfish and Danielle Fairman, the Cripes Cast with Charlie Barons, and Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger, Gilbert Brown. You can enjoy it by the slice or enjoy the whole darn thing. Sharp Cheddar Weekends is radio so fresh, it squeaks. Listen in on the Civic Media station or on the app.
You are never far away from your favorite local radio station. We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app, and we invite you to get social with us by following our...
I'm your brain, part of the central nervous system. Your cranium's my home, and if you want to learn, then listen. I'm the boss of all the functions in your body. I weigh about 3 pounds, but I'm the...
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And would you get a brain chip? And if you did, what would you want it to do? 844-967-2789. Would you get a brain chip? And what would you want it to do? 844-96-PARTY. Jane.
Okay, my first question, it's not associated in any way, shape, or form with anyone named Elon, correct?
It is.
It is?
It is.
Not getting the brain chip.
Okay, that's your threshold?
Yep, no.
Had he not bought Twitter, I always wonder this, it's hindsight's 2020, revisionist history, but I feel like he's shown so much of his narcissism and impulsivity and questionable decision-making skills with the whole Twitter thing. Because prior to that, he was eccentric and he had some weird Twitter takes, but the things he was working on were revolutionary, like brain chips and going to space and revolutionizing how we do cars and stuff. And I know the argument is he didn't start those companies. It's other people. He was funding them. But regardless, what he was associated with, his brand was associated with stuff that was really world changing. And now it feels like he's been just branded with all of the Twitter nonsense. But because you take him out of this, and this is really cutting edge, could be incredible science.
Yeah, it is.
So basically the story behind this question, but again, we do want to hear, would you get a brain chip? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Is last week, Elon Musk's brain implant company, Neuralink, said that the FDA gave it the okay to launch its first in-human clinical trial.
Okay.
So Neuralink designs fully implantable chips that could allow people to control a computer or mobile device with their brain. The idea is to help paralyzed people walk again and potentially cure other neurological injuries or diseases. So it's not just superpower stuff. Because like what I would want it for is like memory recall. I'm like, make me funnier. Be a Wikipedia in my brain. That's not what it's for. It is for actually like neurological diseases and injuries.
Which is wonderful. It really is.
And the company's earlier bids to get FDA approval were rejected over safety concerns, but now it's moving forward. And there hasn't been too many details about when the study will start, who they're going to recruit, when they'll start to recruit. But it brings up the question of like, who's willing to do this? And to make it more fun, I'm asking the question, like, what else would you be willing to get a brain chip for if it meant you could do XYZ? But that's what I mean. Like, I feel like with the technology itself, like if you were someone who was paralyzed and there was the opportunity to potentially walk again, wouldn't you take it? Elon be damned?
This is huge. Most definitely. I mean, my husband has a spinal cord injury. And
Does he?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. He was paralyzed from the waist down for about 6 months.
From a car accident?
No, he slipped and fell on ice. And his spinal column went.
Oh my God. I never knew that. How long ago did that happen?
Oh, this happened about 2 years before we met. So this is like 24 years ago, 25 years ago.
So he was still youngish.
He was in his late 30s. And when he woke up, he was paralyzed from the waist down.
So he fell so badly on ice that he was in a coma, or he got knocked out.
He got knocked down and could not get up. There was so much calcium buildup in his spine that it just shattered. And they had to try and reconnect all the nerves and everything. And they didn't think he was going to be able to walk again. And even when we met, he was walking with a cane.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was basically like a freak accident because there was no way he knew that he had that much calcium buildup in his spine.
How would you know that?
Yeah.
You know? So,
what normally would just be a blooper on America's Funniest Videos.
Not so funny.
Was not so funny.
No.
And so for him to start to like learn to walk again was physical therapy.
It was the water therapy specifically that he has said that changed the course for him. Without that water therapy, he probably would still be in a wheelchair.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, and then his goal once we got engaged was to lose the cane by the time we got married, and he did.
Look at that.
Yeah, and he still has a slightly awkward gait, and he's not terribly bendy.
So you're the one bending over doing the yard work, and
he's not very twisty and bendy. Which
he can push
fine.
A lawnmower, but he can't mulch.
He can lift things, but the rest of it is yoga's out. Let's just say that yoga's pretty much out.
Wow, I had no idea. So yeah, I mean, I guess, and in that situation, do you think, if you have to speak for him, had the water therapy not worked and the technology was there, do you think he would have gotten a brain chip?
I do. Yeah, I really do. I mean, don't forget, he was a soccer player. He was a soccer coach.
I didn't know that either. Paul, just so this fascinating British man that I know so little about.
That's how he ended up in the U.S. He was coaching soccer.
And I think, but that's what I mean. Like, I feel like because people joke about it, right? And we're kind of joking about it. Like, oh, a brain chip that can, it's like the magical drugs. It's not like, the Ozempic of, oh, it can cure all these things and a brain chip. And we're going to get to the point where, we're superhumans and we're half humans and half machines and all this stuff. But also like in the possibility of actually solving life-ending, life-altering diseases and injuries, I feel like there would be a fair amount of people who would say, yeah, I will try it.
Yeah, I think so too.
And so I think it's a good thing.
Again, I know that Elon's not in the lab looking under a microscope, and he's funding it. He's not designing
running it.
Running it. he's connected to it because he's giving them money. But it's a remarkable thing, and certainly, as you said, for people with spinal cord injuries and mobility issues, and it would just be massive.
So basically, it can also help with blindness.
Wow.
So Neuralink hopes to use its microchips to treat conditions such as paralysis and blindness, and to help certain disabled people use computers and mobile technology. So far, they've been tested on monkeys and are designed to interpret signals produced in the brain and relay that information to devices via Bluetooth. So I guess the big question becomes, like, with that much technology in your actual body, is there like cancer concerns?
Yeah, sure. What are the
And like
ramifications?
radiation and stuff like going through? Because remember was there ever any proof that the Bluetooth devices, remember before, like when it was like people would be walking around like just with their little Bluetooth so they wouldn't have to hold their phone up to their head because they were worried that like the rays from the phone were going to give them brain cancer? I don't know if there was ever any established evidence of that being a real thing, but I remember that was a huge argument of why people had their Bluetooth. It's also like, I think, was more comfortable because it could just sit on your ear. We do the same thing now with all of us just walking around with our AirPods in all the time, right?
And I also think they thought it looked cool.
I'm really busy. Can you not tell how busy and important I am?
Have to be connected all the time
with my Bluetooth in my ear.
Right.
But I feel like that's...
Well, you make a good point. I mean, what will be the potential ramification? Are you going to set off car alarms? I can just think, just think of how interconnected everything. Are you going to be picking up Alexa in your head? Streaming music services and...
So if let's just play along for a minute. If you could have a brain chip to do anything, what would you have it do? Like, what would fix your life?
What would fix my life?
What would that's in like that your brain, how your brain works? If you could fix your brain to do something, what would you have it do?
I would have it stop my procrastination.
Okay. Are you really a bad procrastinator?
I can put off things for a long time.
Oh.
Depending upon what it is. Like, I can put off dusting.
Is that really the most important thing that you want? That's the most important thing. You want to stop procrastinating so you can dust? Have a sexier goal, Jane. She says.
At my age, being dust-free is pretty hot. I don't know.
Like, do you procrastinate against anything that's actually important?
Well, like exercise.
Okay.
I can find any excuse not to do that.
But if you don't end up doing it, that's not procrastination. That's just lack of discipline.
Well, so, okay, then I need help with being disciplined.
Disciplined.
Yes.
Okay.
That would help me in a lot of areas of my life.
Okay. I feel like there's other things you could do besides a brain chip. You could just have me bully you every day into working out.
That would never work. Lovely thought. Thank you.
Because I think for me, it would come back to the recall. Like, to be able to have a referential, like the recall of memories. And like this basically is like a photogenic memory, right? Like because I feel like I remember things in their vague summary.
Right.
But like when it happened, who was involved, all of those things that some people can just know at the drop of a hat. If I could have that kind of like brain that keeps information and trivia like that to be able to use and pull out whenever I need it
instantaneously,
that would be, I'm trying to think what trade-off I would do. Like, would I risk brain cancer to be able to do that for like 5 years?
I don't know.
Because some people can just do it naturally. Like when I think about, I've seen interviews with Stephen Colbert. Like I feel like that's how his brain works. When he gets interviewed, he'll just recite sonnets perfectly or like rap lyrics perfectly. And it's unbelievable to watch how his brain can just recall things and it just stores it somewhere in the back of his mind. It's just there. Exactly. And whenever he needs it, it's just there versus
that's impressive.
Me just trying to remember what happened last week. I'm like, wait, was that Tuesday? Was that Wednesday?
It gets so much better as you get older.
I know.
Me. Yes.
At least I have an excuse right now. I have momnesia.
You have momnesia. It's
been proven. It's been proven with MRIs, folks, that my gray matter is actually changing right now.
Is it just napping or what is it
No,
doing?
remember Dr. Lyerly said this, that it's an actual thing. They don't know what causes it. But when you're pregnant and you're recovering from pregnancy in your first year of postpartum, that literally they've done MRI scans and your brain, the gray matter of your brain is different during that time. They don't know what causes it, but it's linked to pregnancy and childbirth.
They know what happens.
So I don't know. I think this is super interesting. I think it's an exciting development for people who have conditions that this would actually help.
Yes.
And I think it'll just be interesting to see the long-term effects.
And what else it can be crafted for and directed towards, right?
And also how this, like so many things, doesn't end up getting like abused and creating some, super villains, super mutant army that
all look like Elon.
God. Hopefully they don't all dance like Elon. All right. Well, we're going to take another break. When we come back, it'll still be As Goes Wisconsin.
In the lower back of your brain, it is rounded in structure, as I've gone on to explain. I'm your brain, part of the central nervous system. Your cranium's my home, and if you want to learn, then listen. I'm the boss of all the functions in your body. I weigh about 3 pounds, but I'm the leader of the party. Your brain stem is at the bottom of your brain, connecting brain to spinal cord to form a neural signal train. Your brain stem maintains vital control of your heart and lungs. It controls important reflexes to make sure your body runs. Your pineal gland produces all your precious melatonin, which can help you sleep at night and makes you wake up in the morning. I'm your brain, part of the central nervous system. Your cranium's my home, and if you want to learn, then listen. I'm the boss of all the functions in your body. I weigh about 3 pounds, but I'm the leader of the party.
Let Mike Crivello's Camera Center help you start your family photo album by turning your digital images into gorgeous 4x6-inch prints on 2 for Tuesday. Buy 1 print, get the second free, up to 100 prints. In store only at 181st and Blue Mound. As Goes Wisconsin with Kristen Bry.
The issue with Milwaukee schools, just not enough high-quality schools.
Weekdays 11 to 2.
You can talk about everything else. You can talk about the funding. You can talk about school choice and for it or against it. But there's not enough Hope Christian schools. There's not enough St. Marcus schools. There's not enough Kings. There's not enough Reagans. And until we fix that, Milwaukee Public Schools really isn't going to change.
As Goes Wisconsin with host Kristen Bry on Civic Media and the Civic Media app.
Hey, Dan Kelly, you went around the state saying there had been fraud and the election should be overturned. You did that. You took $120,000 in pay from the Republican Party, not in a donation, pay. The most recent payment was in December, and we don't know if you're still being paid. And you've been endorsed by some of the biggest election deniers in the state. And you're shining me with, I don't know how I rule. I know how you'd rule. I know how you'd rule.
Matt Flynn Direct, weekday afternoons from 3 until 4 on the Civic Media Network and on the Civic Media app.
Moving Day, a walk for Parkinson's, is happening around the country. Together we can unite in the fight against Parkinson's disease in a safe but exciting and fun way. So let's get moving. Join the Parkinson's Foundation to learn more and register at movingdaywalk.org.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 87. Southeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Lows dip down to about 61. Tonight, partly cloudy. Chance for scattered storms again tomorrow, 89. Upper 80s Thursday and Friday with storms both days. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 81 degrees.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. That is a ghost in the cart.
I don't know what that was.
That's Jane McNair.
Hello.
So I saw this morning. So I don't know. Once the Bucks lost, have you just not cared at all about the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I haven't paid any attention.
So the Miami Heat, it's coming back. You know, some people are probably still like, it was still good to fire Bud no matter what. But so far, the Miami Heat, who was an 8 seed, has just rolled through, and they are now, as of last night, going to the finals.
Just dominating.
Jimmy Butler will not quit. And this is also without Wisconsin boy Tyler Hero, who I think I saw last night when we were watching the game, has been cleared. So he may show up and actually get to play in the finals. But, you know, each round, people are like, you know, the Bucks will beat Miami. That obviously did not happen. And then, see, this is why I need the recall. I can't remember who they played in between the Bucks and the Celtics. Anyways, so then they beat their next series, and now as of last night, because they were almost, it was 3. They came back, so it was game 7. So they were up. So Miami went up 3-0, and then the Celtics came back magically over the weekend. They had an unbelievable end of the game on Saturday night. And so it went to game 7 last night, and Miami kind of just like handled them. Like, I think they ended up winning by like 20. And so I saw this morning, you know, this is the thing that's great about Twitter, or whenever you put your hot takes out into the world, they're there and they live on.
Oh, no.
And they don't always age well.
No, they don't.
Some random guy named Mike ADXX, I don't know, he's from Toronto, Ontario. But on May 4th, he said, Bucks really lost to an 8 seed, fam. It's not getting talked about enough. Imagine if Celtics did that. And as of this morning, it now has like 15 million views because everyone's like, imagine that. Imagine if the Celtics lost to an 8 seed as a number 2 seed after the Bucks lost as a number 1 seed. And that indeed did happen.
Let the pylon commence.
So now I feel like for this, once again, last night, husband Mike was like, they're not going to beat Denver. I was like, that's what they've said all the way through. That they can't, you know, eventually they're going to hit a point. But I don't know. It could be Miami's year, the year of the underdog.
Well, and that would be quite an impressive run.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It would be tough to
come in as an 8 seed, and because and then win the whole thing would be, even to make it as far as they've done, I think is pretty impressive. And so I'd say I don't have a lot of skin in this game, but if I have any, I was like, all right, like
cheer for
Jimmy
Miami.
Butler. Sure.
Okay.
But the thing is, because then after it was the Sixers. They lost. They beat the Sixers because then Doc Rivers was also fired, and that was the joke of like Miami Heat's coming for everybody's coach. But I say that as a segue because the Milwaukee Bucks have hired a new coach.
Oh, they hired him.
Well, they're set to hire.
Okay.
Set to hire Adrian Griffin as their new head coach. He will be the 17th head coach in franchise history, and this follows a 23-day search following the dismissal of Mike Budenholzer,
who was so gracious on the way out.
He really was.
He was. It was just, if you're gonna end a relationship, that's the way to do it, man. Class act.
Not like Dan Kelly.
Exactly.
It was basically the opposite.
Complete opposite.
The two spectrums of how to say goodbye
and how to lose.
Dan Kelly on what really never to do and never to be heard from again. And Coach Bud being like just a class act.
All the way.
And he is selling his house. If anyone has an extra $7 million and you want to buy a house,
I'll search for it.
That is what his house is listed as.
Okay.
And
River Hills?
Probably.
Yeah.
That area. I mean, a $7 million house in Wisconsin is a pretty impressive house.
I would certainly.
There's not a ton of property that is like multi-millions of dollars.
I mean, we have
some. There's some, but there's not a lot.
Lake Geneva area, you know, there are pockets, but yeah, $7 million should get you quite a bit of real estate.
Go pretty far
in Wisconsin.
But Griffin returns to Milwaukee. He was actually an assistant coach. He spent
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he spent the last 5 seasons as an assistant coach in Toronto, where he was part of the championship team that won in the 2018-2019 season.
Okay.
And but yeah, he's 48 years old, and he began his coaching career in Milwaukee.
I like that.
So yeah, so he's coming back.
So
He was
he
here
already knows the culture. He already knows the town. He's familiar.
ish. Yeah, he was here in 2008, and he was part of the a 3-team trade on August 13th, which also brought Luke Ridnour and Damon Jones to Milwaukee. But oh no, he played. No, he began his coaching career in Milwaukee. Yeah, but never played again. I'm confused on the wording of this. This is from Journal Sentinel. But anyways,
We're going to have a coach.
we're going to have a coach. Today is an off day. It's almost like we just had a 3-day weekend.
Well, and there's that. And I think a lot of people are still off.
Do you think so?
Oh, when I was driving in this morning, it was Deadsville on the roads. So I think a lot of people
Oh.
are. I think a lot of people are still on vacation.
My brain is still on vacation, apparently.
Well,
'cause
and you're expecting. So
we're just going to keep blaming that. All right. Well, we do have a very fun third hour. No sour, haha, fun time power hour, of which we only have 4 left.
Right.
Because a week from yesterday, on June 5th, we are changing schedules. We are going to be starting at 10 and going till noon instead of being 11 to 2 every day. And so no sour,
sours.
haha, fun time power hour is going to be condensed, maybe
Right.
called something else.
Right.
But,
we'll still do fun things.
you know, we got to condense a lot into 2 hours after being at 3 hours since August. And so, but coming up in the last hour, we are going to be talking to the Experience MKE podcast guys. Steve Glenn and Adam Duros are here in studio, and they have a really big announcement.
Oh, yay.
So if you live in the Milwaukee area, if you ever visit Milwaukee, you're definitely want to tune in for this. And then at 1:30, we are going to be talking to Jake Newborn of the Wisconsin Bike Fed, talking about Wisconsin Bike Week, which is next week. So stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.